If you had inklings that Moore might not have been the most upstanding person, how in the world, Ward Manuel, do you not go a different direction?
The number one thing is to make people say no.
Absolutely.
You know they're unrealistic, but I'm calling Signetti. I'm calling Freeman.
How lucky Michigan is to have Biff Poggi as the interim. Somebody who's not going to be the long-term guy. You know, I'm sure he's gunning for the job. He's not going to be the long-term guy, but how fortunate Michigan is in this moment to have somebody like Biff, who the players love and respect and trust, to pull this team together. Let's start our wheel route brought to you by the Ohio Science Institute. Let's start with the Michigan coaching search.
Yeah.
Suffice it to say, you know, you're probably well aware of the details around Michigan's firing of Sharon Moore for cause. Like I mentioned, we're not going to repeat all the different ins and outs of that right now. You can figure it out for yourself. You can read the articles. We do have an emergency podcast episode that went up on our YouTube channel at Rival Pod on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe there and across social media at Rival Pod as well. But the newer details that seem to be coming out are things like, well, did the athletic department, particularly Ward Manuel, the AD, did he know that this was going on? Was it actually the worst kept secret in the building? How much did he know? How much did he need evidence that he need to have to terminate?
Yeah.
All these questions. And the answer is nobody knows. Like, and genuinely, like, I don't think anybody really has a good answer. There are a lot of people who like to operate like they're insiders, even in the coaching search itself of, oh, this person's a hot name. There's smoke over here. In the words of the great John Bacon, nobody knows anything. And that's really where this sits. Obviously, the entire situation is incredibly sad from a personal standpoint for Sharon's family and everybody involved. From a football standpoint, I mean, this is not a good position for Michigan to find themselves in.
Yeah, the timing of it unfortunate. The circumstances are all unfortunate, and so we've obviously gone into what the Moore situation looked like. There's been more things that have come to light because of that, none of which are good.
No.
But let's focus, I guess, a little bit more on the football side of things, because you can look up all the rumors and everything like that on your own time. When it comes to the football side of things, who takes over the helm of this program? And then what does that look like for guys that this broke not soon after National Signing Day, where you have a bunch of recruits coming in thinking Moore's still the guy? And
I mean, it was the night of National Signing Day.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, wow. It was Wednesday.
Yeah, it was Wednesday night. And so you have this big change happen, and you already saw, and this is coming from the Ohio State side, you saw just how dramatic that can really alter that day for you, because Chris Henry Jr. almost decommits from the Buckeyes after previously shutting it down and blocking out any rumors, and Hartline decides to go, and now all of a sudden everything's up in the air. And that was our offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Now imagine taking the main guy and switching that out.
Yeah.
So I know there's been rumors, there's been names that have been floated around. At the end of the day, who do you think the guy is?
Yeah, there's a lot packed in there, and purposely so. So I would say this. Having in the interim, and Jake Butt and Devin Gardner have a great podcast, if you're a Michigan guy, called The Blueprint, where they were talking about this. And Jake Butt really went into how lucky Michigan is to have Biff Poggi as the interim. Somebody who's not going to be the long-term guy. You know, I'm sure he's gunning for the job. He's not going to be the long-term guy, but how fortunate Michigan is in this moment to have somebody like Biff, who the players love and respect and trust, to hold this team together. Because let's start with that on the player side of it. The number one question people are having, and we talked about this on the Emergency Pod episode on YouTube, is guys like, Bryce Underwood's going to be the biggest name there, right?
Yeah.
His phone's been blowing up for a week now. And there is a real danger, I think. Here's a kid who, I have no doubt that he loves being at Michigan, but at the same time was originally an LSU commit. Michigan came in, got their boosters together, and threw a ton of money his way. He decided to stay home. I mean, he's a kid from Belleville, right down the road, decided to stay home. Now, though, let's take a program like LSU. Now, if you're LSU, you're now going back to a kid who clearly liked the program to begin with because he committed there, going back to him saying, hey, we can, let's say we can match that money, or we can get similar to it. And also, we just hired the hottest name in the coaching carousel. Whatever you think of Lane Kiffin, I'm not a big fan, but I mean, that was the guy,
done.
right?
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, who's your head coach right now? I mean, you can start planting those seeds in there, and understandably so. And by the way, I don't know that I would fault the kid. I don't want it to happen. I'm not suggesting it will, but it certainly could happen. What about some of these high-level commits? Savion Hyder, the number one running back of the class, has already said, people were talking about, he asked to opt out of his letter, and he shut that down and said, no, I did not. But that doesn't mean he won't. Michigan has seen a couple signees decommit. Bear McWhirter, 3-star offensive lineman, 4-star tight end also decommitted, which Michigan, has an abundance of tight end play. But still, like, those are things you're going to have to watch, because you have the portal opening January 2nd for current players. And then once you hire a new coach, you then have 15 days. It used to be where as soon as the coach was fired, you had a certain period of time. That's not how it works anymore. You've got the January 2nd to January 15 window, or whatever it is. Yeah. And then you have 15 days after the hiring of the new coach to decide if you want to transfer out or not. So if you're Michigan, you certainly better have a guy by January 2nd when the portal opens. But even if you do, you're still going to have that window. Obviously, you'd like that to overlap as much as you can. Yeah. So that's the player side of it. That's the player side of it. I have not heard. We're recording Monday morning, and the problem with doing a weekly podcast is this stuff can change like that.
As you saw last week.
As of Monday morning, I have not seen any current players, make any indication that they may hit the portal. They can't hit it yet, but I've not seen any indication that they will.
Well, and you've seen people already make statements that they're either returning or coming back. Malik Washington over the weekend from Maryland said that he was going to sign on to come back, which is a weird time for us. I saw somebody post a picture. I don't even remember what player it was. That if you've ever seen like the NFL rookie contracts, they always have like the nice picture of them behind a desk with the team hat and they're signing the contract. They started doing that with college players, where this team had posted saying this guy's going to return to us next year, and he's sitting down with his ball cap on and he's signing the form. And that's just
weird.
Yeah, I knew that it was already happening, but it was just weird to like visually see it in front of me. So players could still, like you said, they could come out today and say, hey, when this opens up, I'm going to go.
Yeah. And I don't know that they would do that as much as they might wait until the portal hits, unless you're hoping that you're trying to get guys to start reaching. I mean, I'm sure if you've got a player on Michigan that you really want, I'm sure you're reaching out already.
Oh, right? For sure.
On the coaching side of things, this is where it drives me nuts, because there are all these quote unquote insiders. We're like, well, there's the smoke here, and this is happening here, and nobody, again, John Bacon, nobody knows anything. Here's the only things that I trust at this point are that, number one, there was a report that said, hey, Michigan reached out to the agent or the people or whatever around Kenny Dillingham, and that they reached out to the folks around Eli Drinkwitz at Mizzou. I fully believe that there is plenty more that they have reached out to.
For sure.
I'm going to hope that there are plenty more they've reached out
to. Please reach out to other people.
But as far as, well, who's most likely to do it, there's all this rumor that Dillingham, that his bet had been locked, and this was, nobody knows anything. If I'm sitting here right now and you said, hey, tell me the guys that you want. It's guys that probably ain't coming, right? I mean, I said this on the emergency pod as well, but I mean, I'd be making calls, and I think you still should. You need to make these guys say no, but I'd be making calls to Marcus Freeman.
100%. I actually saw,
go ahead.
I don't even remember who this was. I feel like it was actually a TV personality that was talking about this exact situation, and they said, the number one thing is to make people say no.
Absolutely.
They're unrealistic, but I'm calling Signetti. I'm calling Freeman. It's not going to happen, but you're going to force them to go say. Yeah. Dan Lanning was another one that was thrown out in that exact conversation. Yeah. I didn't write those guys down because it's
unlikely, but again, there is that level of the Brady Hoke. This is Michigan, for gosh sakes. There is some appeal there. And by the way, just like there would be if Ohio State were in this situation.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, these are
you got to do the due diligence.
These are two of the best jobs. And someone tried to tell me the other day that Michigan was like the 8th or 9th best job in college football. I'm like, brother, Ohio State and Michigan are like both in the top 5.
Yeah, and it's not even close.
Tell me 8 jobs better than Michigan.
Yeah.
Kalen DeBoer has obviously been a hot name. That is probably most people's realistic number 1 choice right now, is to go get a guy like Kalen DeBoer, has experience at Eastern Michigan, has family in Ypsilanti, right outside Ann Arbor.
It's not a real place.
Excuse me. Ypsilanti.
I know it is. I've seen the sign,
that's
but
where
it just
Eastern
sounds
Michigan
fake.
is.
It's like Kalamazoo being a real thing. You just don't want to believe it.
I've tried to tell my kids Kalamazoo is a real place.
I've been
and
there.
They're like, that sounds like a Dr. Seuss thing. Like, it does, but it's real. Also, have you ever heard of the Zilwaukee Bridge or the Zilwaukee River?
Michigan is a fake state.
Michigan's not
confirmed.
But,
this conversation
so
confirms it.
Kalen DeBoer's high up on the list. DeBoer, of course, and again, we're recording Monday morning, so this stuff can change like that. Kalen DeBoer made a statement over the weekend talking about, I'm committed to Alabama and I'm focused on our team and blah, blah, blah. And my response is, sure, Jan.
Yeah. Well, because what's he going to say? He's prepping for a game this weekend.
Yeah, I'm a little bit distracted. A little bit distracted
yeah,
this
hold
week.
on. Michigan's calling real quick. No.
Yes,
no.
Ward. Hold on, please.
Hold on, please.
Anyway, yeah, I'm excited to play Oklahoma State
Definitely
this
not
week.
talking to Michigan. Oh,
Yeah.
hey, Bryce, I'll be there next week.
Yeah, I mean,
get out of here.
Ahead of this playoff game, I'm distracted for real. Like, what do you want him to say?
Yeah.
And the same thing with Dillingham. Kane Dillingham talks about how much he loves Arizona State, which I fully believe.
For sure.
1,000% believe. And talks about, Michigan, that'll be a great opportunity for somebody. Are you the somebody, though?
Well, that's what's weird is like,
what do you want them to
watching that
say?
press conference, and I forget the exact verbiage that I saw.
But he was
the video.
emotional about it.
He was like verge of tears, getting choked up about this, talking about how special of a place Arizona State is. And I'm just going,
that tells me that you're thinking about it.
If you're not going to leave, you're not going to get sad about leaving the place that you're at.
Yeah.
That's just not a common thing. So,
yeah, so I mean, those are 2 guys on there. If I were a betting man right now, and I have no inside info on this, this is just gut feel. I would say Jed Fish is probably the next coach.
Yeah,
and is it a terrible hire? No, I don't think it's a terrible hire. Is it one that excites me? It's not. But so much of this, I have to remind myself. Joel Klatt talks a lot about: do you want to win the press conference or win the hire? Mm-hmm. And it's impossible to tell. When A&M, and this is the example I go back to, when A&M hired Jimbo Fisher, they won the press conference. Would anybody say that they won the hire? I don't think so. Mm-hmm. I don't think so. You can lose both. You can absolutely lose both.
You don't want that.
You can hire Brian Kelly right now and lose both. But would Jed Fish win the press conference? Not for me, but could it be the right hire? Yeah, sure could. I mean, he did a great job at Arizona. I think he's done a decent job at Washington, coming in also after they just got absolutely gutted. I mean, not unlike the situation Sharon was in after that national championship run, where all these guys leave and now you've got a new guy thrust into the program, and what do you do with it?
I think for me, while it's not this like home run hire, like you're saying, you're not going to win the press conference with it. I do still think any of those guys, any Dillingham, you've got Fish, if you get DeBoer, any of those guys at least still bring a little bit of energy and a little bit of excitement. It's not like you're going to see that and be completely a dud.
No.
I think the only reason something like that happens is if you pull out some guy that's never been a head coach or you do another internal hire. I think something like that where like if for whatever reason they get Haagen-Dazs loving Biff Poggi out there and they make him the full-time, I think that disappoints you. It should disappoint you a little bit.
The only reason that Biff would disappoint me is I mean, and
you'd win the press conference for sure.
Well, I don't know that you do though, because I think here's the thing. That does not feel like a long-term solution. No. And that's nothing against Biff. I love having Biff on staff, but I mean, it's looking at his age and going, it feels almost like, and I love Biff far more than I love Wink and Martindale, but I've said Wink has always felt like a rental. Mm-hmm. Now, the good news, if you will, on the football side about this whole thing is that I don't see a world where Wink gets retained. So that's good.
Yeah, I think whoever ends up taking this job is going to get a completely new staff.
But Biff Poggi being named head coach, like for real, that would feel like a rental to me. And I think that's going to be really hard. The guy that I do not have any interest in would be Eli Drinkwitz. And again, they've reached out to him. I hope it's just due diligence, whatever. No interest. That is one that would I be upset about the Fish hire? I'm not going to be thrilled about it, but I'm willing to wait and see. Drink, I would be absolutely furious about. Also, Brian Kelly, they've already said, no, that man is not interviewing for this job.
How far do you have to fall for like this guy that used to be would have been a home run hire for a lot of programs to just look at this. Yeah. And I don't disagree with any of your points. I actually feel like a couple of years ago when Moore got hired, I said the same thing about him, where I said, this isn't a guy that you're looking at long term. You're realistically, I mean, unless something really, really pans out, bringing in an internal hire that his only real head coach experience was being an interim when Harbaugh was out. And I brought this concern up, and I didn't think it was going to end the way it did. Well, sure, but I thought, and I thought you saw that progress even these past 2 seasons where he had talent and at times I thought overperformed record wise. Yeah. But still felt like something was missing. You felt like that gear to get you to the next level didn't exist with him. Well, and so despite these 9-3s and 8-4 records and all this stuff where with bad quarterback play, and you're still looking at him going, yeah, I'm questioning this, even though there's a abundance of young talent. You're one of the youngest teams and you play decent. I thought you played decent throughout the season.
Well, I mean, a 9-3 record, and look, I get Michigan did not have. I thought Michigan's schedule was tougher than people gave it credit for, but I also think that from Michigan did get a lot of favorable matchups. That you got that stretch of Michigan State, Purdue, Northwestern, and you made it more difficult than it needed to be.
100%.
And I don't mean to be insensitive when I say this, but I do think that it doesn't explain everything, and I'm don't hear me saying anything I'm not saying. Goodness gracious, no wonder that our team looks unprepared and that our team looks unfocused at times. If your head coach is off with these indiscretions over here, how can you possibly be a leader that can forget the football field, but just like a leader of like these young men as people? How are they supposed to, especially if there's rumors about it and whatever else, how are they supposed to trust you? How are you supposed to be their mentor? How are you, if you're messing around over here?
Yeah. At the end of the day, Michigan's got to find the right guy that's not like the culture they currently have. I forget what the stat was, but it was like, and this isn't going into the whole athletic department because you know more about that than I do, but you had the Juwan Howard situation. You said something about the hockey situation. Mel
Pearson. And again, the Stallions Harbaugh thing, I don't even put in the same category.
But I'm not even saying you're just saying that. I'm saying in the Harbaugh era, the amount of coaches and issues that arrived, not that it was necessarily just on him, but like the football program's been a major, this is the second big scandal
you should never
from that. And you also had
your vetting process should have your vetting process should have never hired Connor Stallions. No. And that's not me, again, that's not rehashing or me saying this was the worst, blah, blah. That's just going, this dude is clearly he knows football apparently, but he's clearly a wacko.
And that's the football side of it.
And also, if you had inklings that Moore might not have been the most upstanding person, how in the world, Ward Manuel, do you not go a different direction? And so eventually, and this is why Michigan's hired this firm to go, let's do an internal investigation.
Yeah.
Good.
Because it's necessary.
And also, too little, too late in one sense, but also good on the university for going, hey, we need to clean house. And I was talking to my dad this weekend, and he was saying, you know what? He's like, I realized that it could cost you a year, and it could have fallout and all this other stuff. But my dad's a great dude, and he said, yeah, of course you have to get rid of Sharon. He said, get rid of Ward. He said, it's time to clean house because you're going to be better for it in the long run.
Yeah. Well, because I don't think he's proven that he could be the guy to lead that. You're talking about leadership, and it starts at the top. And Ward's been that guy. And you're seeing all these issues from every single athletic team. Michigan having 2 big scandals in a couple of years. Several of their coaches all having arrests. Is not what you want around young kids. I mean, these are young adults. They're 18-year-old guys coming into this program.
The adults in the room have to be the adults in the room.
Yeah, 100%.
And by the way, I'll just say this. As much as I may not love, the Fish hire or, I'm iffy on Dillingham, and all that stuff, I saw somebody remark, and I think it's true. You tell me that Sharon Moore was an upgrade over any of those guys? Or you're telling me, I guess let me rephrase it. You're telling me that any of those guys wouldn't be an upgrade over Moore 100%. From a football standpoint. Yeah, I guess I'm not saying...
Eli would have been, in my opinion. I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I'm not saying I want him to. I don't think he should be the option, but I would. Any of the ones that we've listed so far, I would have taken over more years ago.
You better figure it out quick.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be in place before January 2nd. Again, all these people, but. Watch our luck, man. We record Monday mornings. Watch our luck at 11:30 today while you're finishing up, getting ready to post this on YouTube. Jedd Fisch will be named the next head coach at Michigan.
See, and I know you were just saying you don't think that would really be like some monumental thing. I actually think he's the best fit, and I don't even think it's close. And I know the hot rumor right now is Dillingham's basically a done deal. I think Jedd Fisch should be the guy. I think you look at what he's done with Damon Williams, and to me, that's very similar to what you have in a Bryce Underwood. Talk about a guy that can go and help a guy like that.
And I think that's fair.
And he's got Michigan ties already. I mean, I know it's not the flashy hire, but you don't have a flashy hire anymore. DeBoer is the real guy left, and I think with him, it really just dives down to what happens this weekend.
We are all Oklahoma fans this weekend. Boomer Sooner, man.
I think Oklahoma wins that one, and they walk out with 4 losses on the year.
Maybe there's a chance. The Rivalry Podcast is part of the Varsity Network from Learfield and the River Podcast Network from River Radio Ministries.
New episodes out every Monday.
Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening right now, and follow on social media at RivalPod and RivalPod.com.
And if you like what you hear, share with a friend so they can listen too.